Okay. So, hello. I was just going to record a hopefully brief video on how to set up, if you are an ECE student at Carnegie Mellon, how to set your home directory on both ECE machines and Andrew machines, so like the Linux number machines and ECE machines, how to set your home directory to just be on the ECE machines rather than the Andrew machines. And this is nice just because the ECE machines have 20 gigs of space by default, and you can request more, and they approve it more. Like they're more likely to approve it, whereas the Andrew machines um, only have um, 2 gigs of space, and you can tell that by running the how much space there is, um, by running the following command. So you can run fs lq and then the link to your directory, or the path to your directory, sorry. So andrew.cmu.edu, I'm user 19, and then this is my directory. So you can see that there's 2 gigs quota, and I'm using 1.2, which is not great. So if I do the same thing here for the ECE machines this time, afs ec.cmu.edu, user jladon, and now you can see that I actually have 100 gigs. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 100 gigs. I'm using 3.5, so I have 4% of my total space used. So that's how you can view it. That's just kind of the main reason. There's a lot more space on the ECE machines. There's more software and stuff, so that's why generally I tend to have the ECE machine as my home directory rather than the Andrew machines. Okay, so I had paused it for a second to make a couple changes, but yeah, now I'm going to get back into showing you how to change the home directory. So I can actually pull up this link. There's a couple links that are useful. This one is actually from ECE help. So you can see ECE. Actually, it's this tab right here. Computer's being a little slow, but it'll get used to it. So how to set ECE AFS user home directory as home. So basically the main thing that you need to do is set a symbolic link, so ln for link dash s to make it symbolic, between your ECE. So this is the source of where the link is pointing to, and this is the destination of where you want to place it. So you want to place a symbolic link that points to your ECE home directory, or your ECE like personal user directory, and place that in your Andrew AFS Linux machines home directory in a dot file called .ece home dir. So if we go to my Andrew files, we can go la, which is that's ls-al, and we can see where is it? Oh, wait, that's why. I'm in my EC directory. So I can cd over to the Andrew directory, which I just have a symbolic link between the two. So my symbolic link goes to my Andrew directory. I could also alternatively it's the exact same thing. So now I'm in my Andrew directory, and if I ls-al, which is, I have an alias for LA, you can see I have a .ece home dir dot file, which goes to my personal directory on the ECE machines. So essentially what that does, from what I can tell, there's not really great documentation on it, but from what I can tell, all that does is when an ECE machine, so like one of these machines, when one of like the .ece machines logs in, it first goes into your AFS machines. So by default, the like Andrew machines, by default, the ECE machines go into the Andrew machines. And then it says if it sees this .ece home dir, it will change to the directory that it's linking to. So in my case, it's going to ece.cmu.edu, user jladon, and then run all the dot files in that location. So like all the startup, bash rc, vimrc, all that stuff. It'll run all of like the file setup wherever is being linked. That being said, it only like starts the shell there and like runs the default files. You still need to set up your home directory to be that location. So I did that in my bash rc, I believe. So yeah, so that's making the symbolic link. You don't really need to do this. You could just do home equals this and then cd after. I'll show you my bash rc and CMU config. So export the home directory to be a new value, the ECE value, and then cd into it. So I have my personal dot files in a folder called dot files, and then I have my CMU settings in this file. Oh, wait. Okay, it took me a while to get there. So I have a couple checks. So all of this, these are all checks. So if the host name contains cmu.edu anywhere, so any CMU machine, I aklog, which I'm going to explain in a second, ec.cmu and andrew.cmu.edu. This is just to give ECE servers permissions to the Andrew servers, which it already has by default, because every ECE student is an Andrew student, like a CMU student. But not every CMU student, Andrew like server, has access to the ECE servers. So aklog, if you're running aklog on an ECE, if you're running aklog on an ECE server, you would want to run aklog andrew.cmu.edu, and that would give the ECE server permissions to go to Andrew. And then if you're on an Andrew machine, you would run an aklog on ec.cmu.edu, and that would give the aklog server permissions to go into the ECE machines for that specific like user. And then this is what I was talking about. So I change my home directory to be afsec.cmu user. So that's what these instructions are saying. Home directory afsec.cmu.edu user, export home, and then I cd into that directory. So I just cd tilde, because tilde refers to home, I just updated home. So that's what my dot files look like on my ECE file, or on my ECE machines, or in my ECE home directory. And the reason this works is because, like I said, when I SSH into ECE, it goes into ECE home dir. It sees that and it runs these setup files. However, for the Andrew machines, I have some different files. So because the Andrew machines, when you log in, even if it sees the ECE home dir, it doesn't know, oh, go to this directory and set everything up. That was like an ECE computing thing that they did for the ECE servers, because they have control over the ECE servers. So I had to do something different for when I'm logging into the Andrew machines. So basically, if you just wanted the ECE servers to refer to the, like when you log in on an ECE machine, it refers to your ECE home directory, that's all you need to do, you're done. But I also, when I logged into the Andrew machines, I also wanted to set up the, I also wanted to change my home directory to the ECE servers as well. So I wanted that to work on the Andrew machines as well. So if I vim my bash rc, you can see what I have set up here. So I have the setup path referring to the bash rc on my ECE machine. So this is what I want to actually be running. And then, like I said, I'm on an Andrew machine, so I would run aklog ece.cmu.edu. This gives the Linux Andrew machines permissions for my username to access my username on the ECE machines. From there, I run. Oh yeah, so I'm saying if the setup path exists and it's an executable file, or if it's a file and it exists and it's executable, then I echo setting up Andrew servers by sourcing ece.files. I export the home directory again to be on the ECE, and then I source those .files. So first things first, I give myself permissions, the Andrew machine permissions to do stuff on the ECE machine. I change my home directory, and then I run those setup files. So those setup files will also cd, if you remember, that's why. It also has cd tilde, aklog, all this stuff. It'll do that as well. So if I actually exit from both of these, notice that this one says I'm using 63% of my AFS quota, and I'm setting up, this was the echo from the Andrew bash RC. So you see that I entered the Andrew machines, I ran the Andrew bash RC, which basically changed everything over to ECE stuff. But on the ECE machines, I logged in, I ran some setup stuff, but I don't have that, setting up Andrew servers by sourcing the ECE.files, because this ECE machine went directly into the ECE home directory to run those setup files. So I didn't even run the bash rc file that's in Andrew servers. That's how that works. Also important to note that the ECE machines don't have a number. So it's like user jladon. It's not user 19 like it is on the Andrew machines. And now if I reload, you can see I'm using 4% of my 100 gigs on the ECE machines. So that's how you make both the ECE machines and the Andrew machines refer to your ECE home directory. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to show. I showed all the documentation. I also have some aliases, so ECE quota, and that just prints that, and same thing with Andrew quota, just because there's something that's kind of nice to check. And then if you want to move everything, so I just moved all of my content from the Andrew machines over to the ECE machines, and I just used rsync. So it was like rsync -a -a, and I moved tilde all of the files within my home directory over to ECE, AFS, ECE.CMU, user jladon. So I just ran this command basically, -A is for archive. It copies over like all files and has like statuses. Be careful. Tildes make a difference whether you're copying the directory itself or all the internals of the directories. I would just recommend looking at the man page for rsync if you're doing this. But yeah, basically this is just going to copy all of your, and probably shouldn't use, tilde. You should probably specify the full path to that as well. So afs andrew.cmu andrew.cmu user 19 jladon. So this is probably what you would want to specify. So specify your syncing source, rsync source destination. So you're moving all of the files on your Andrew home directory into your ECE home directory. And then that moves everything over. You may need to change permissions. So you can just do like chmod user group other, and then plus read, write, execute, or you can specify that in binary, so like 777 or something. So just chmod the private to make sure that, so you would want to make sure that like this maintains only you have rights, because you don't want to get an AIV for your private directory being accessible to everyone. Yeah, but like notice everyone can access, any user can access it. So that's what I wanted to show. Hopefully it's helpful to somebody at least. I know I went through a lot of trouble getting all this set up, so I just wanted to share that. Thanks.